Hi friends, in this video we are going to do an overview around web components and some advanced discussions around it at the end. To begin with, let's take a simple scenario. You're working on the front-end development of a web project using native JS, HTML and CSS code. Your product or user experience team sent you some designs and you started writing the code and noticed that there exist some design elements which have some special behavior, variations and are used repeatedly in many places. For example, you can see here a Figma component which looks almost like a button. Notice that this component has two variants. Assume that this component is being used everywhere in your web design files. This is the situation where you can leverage web component specification that will help you define your own HTML elements using combination of HTML, CSS and JavaScript behavior. Let's look at a simple snippet of how you can define web components. So here are two ways to put it in simple. One way helps you extend or create variation of any inbuilt HTML elements. Like here we are extending paragraph element using the HTML paragraph element interface, and the second one is by creating your own complex HTML elements, aka components, as we have done by extending HTML element interface. You can get a list of all HTML element interfaces on Mozilla Docs Web API section. To demonstrate the same, I have built a simple partner portal example over here. Here you can see list of dealers and retailers showed as a list of cards, contact cards. I can click on each of this card, and on clicking the state changes of this card. We will be looking at code details of this component from both symbol perspective and also the web components perspective. Here this same page is written in web components, and as you can see it works exactly similar on both the examples. Without wasting any time, let's see the code differences between both the two examples. So here we are looking at the same example. On the left hand side we have the simple partner portal example. On the right hand side we have the web component based partner portal example, and you can see that it's almost the same. We have included a style sheet on both HTML pages. We have added a script to toggle active class on our contact card, which will look in a bit over here in the simple example. And for the web component one, we have a JS included in which we have the web component definition. Then we'll look at the body of this HTML. In both we have this heading which says simple partner portal example, and the other one we have the web components based partner portal example. And then we have the list of items, or let's say list of contact cards that we have defined. So this class is something we have defined in the design file. So let's quickly look at the design file of the items. So it's basic flex container for the contact cards, and if we go in this side we have the same items list container. Now if you can see in this CSS, in the normal or the standard example, the simple one, we have a lot of classes defined here, but we don't have that in this CSS, as we will be defining this design in our web component definition. Then let's see what's inside this, and there we have these contact cards. Here we have these contact cards. We have the on click handler called from here. We have this contact card which is defined as this. Okay, and on same level over here, let's say in the web component side, we have just one tag which is a custom tag C card, which is our web component, and we are not calling any, let me overdraft this, we are not calling any on click handler over here on this card, okay, or the web component. Then we'll quickly look at how this web component was defined in our JavaScript. Over here we have a style element defined inside a template tag. In that we have defined the same design as contact class. Here we have used host to match that design, since we will be attaching the shadow right to the web component itself instead of querying any other element on the page and attaching the shadow over there. Then we have active class over here, which defines the active state of the card. So again, since this active class is being set on contact class, here we can use this format for the class active definition. But since here we will be toggling the active class on the host element, we'll need to put it in this format. You can get this syntax from the web component specification document. And similarly, we are attaching the definition for image. Okay, so that's overall difference between the design files of both the component. In the standard one, we don't have the host, we have a contact wrapper class for the design, and here we have the host. Okay, and on the element side, let's dig what's there inside this. So we have a avatar class in which we have the image. So if we go back to the example, this is the avatar image. Then we have a details section in which we have name of the dealer, or say the contact person, and the designation, which is here the dealer name and the designation. Okay, so we have taken this as a template inside this template tag. Okay, we have actually created a template element and added this particular block inside it using inner HTML attribute. And now we'll define this as to be our custom component using this definition that we referred earlier over here, this definition. Okay, so we are defining the contact card custom component using extending HTML element interface. So here we are setting the observe attributes as a list of attributes. So these are the custom web component attributes that we'll be observing for the changes, and as soon as the parameter value for this is changed, so let's say example, we have this name attribute. As soon as this value is changed from blank to Shubham, this will be called in this, and since it's name attribute, this will change the name class of the current component with the new value. And similarly, we have done the other operations in the attributes and attributes change callback. So web components provide you with 4 callbacks generally, which is connected callback, disconnected callback, and attribute change callback, and there is one more which is adopted something callback. Okay, so that is about attributes changed and observed attributes section. Then while defining a web component, we need to define the constructor of it and need to call super method to initiate the construction of HTML element. Okay, so the base class that we are extending, we need to initiate the details of that. If I comment this and I go back to the web component example and I refresh this, our web component will not be rendered. So this is required, and then we attach the shadow to the current web component using this. We are attaching the shadow, and here we define the mode of it. So since we have defined open mode, we get access to shadow root and query selector inside our web component, as well as we can use the same format from outside the web component to query the elements inside our shadow structure. And then we have connected callback. As soon as the web component is injected in the HTML, we'll attach a on-click handler so that we can toggle the active class, so similarly as we did over here using this method. So we'll be doing that using connected callback lifecycle loop over here. And at last we'll use this contact card class to define the custom web component tag that we have created with name card. So since we have used card, now you can define it as a tag with this attributes name, designation, image source. Now we can also use slots over here. You can also use slots to do similar kind of bindings directly instead of using JS, but for this example I am not going into slots. Now there is one more feature of web components, is that your design is isolated from the other elements. For example, I will try to inspect this. Let's say for example we have one more, yeah, we have this class avatar. Now this class is available in all of your instances of your web component, right? But if I change, let's say if I change this to red, it will only affect the design until its shadow root, and it will not go beyond the boundaries of that shadow structure. So that's what web component provides. Now we are going into the final sections of our web component discussion, where we'll be discussing the difference between open mode and closed mode. So there is this documentation that I found where they say closed shadow roots should not be used much as they are not useful, but I think that's a little bit miscommunicated, because if we are if we have an option to close a shadow root and we are thinking that it's not the way it should work, it's because we are thinking it's a security feature. So closed is not a security feature. What I, based on the examples or the documentation and my experimentation, I figured out is you can use closed web components in this way, where you create a open web component that can be reused in your web pages. Okay, but let's say you have a component that has a very minimal design, unique design and JavaScript interaction, which doesn't need using the shadow root and query selector inside their JS. In that cases, you can create the closed components and you can use it inside your structure of your open components. And finally, we are at the end of our discussion. Hope you guys found it helpful. Thank you. Bye.